Daaca. So I am here to discuss one of the 21st century skill, which is the effective communication skill. First and foremost, we have to discuss what is communication skill. Communication skills can be developed through cooperative learning and direct instruction, but the highest increase are linked with cooperative settings. While students understand the importance of developing communication skills, they have the lack of interest, especially in written communication. This is due in part to feeling disconnect between the classroom communication experiences and the real-world applications. To begin improving students' communication skills, we have to set specific goals for students, such as to articulate through effectively using the forms of communication in a variety of contexts. Second is to listen to others in order to understand the meaning, the attitude, and the intention. Third is to communicate for a variety of purposes and audiences. The fourth one is to use media and technology to communicate with impact. So next, we have to discuss the classroom strategies to develop communication skills. First and foremost, we have the oral communication. Um, as the years pass by, we have discussed it already with what is oral communication is. But in in relation to my topic, I have to discuss it again. So oral communication is skills are needed to exchange information, persuade, or explain. Students may excel or casual oral communication with peers, but it is sometimes difficult to translate into a professional or technical setting. To help students gain confidence in their oral communication skills, we have to consider these following strategies. First, as we have to create opportunities for students to present in a public format. Audiences should vary and not only include peers. We have to encourage the students to utilize technology as a media, as tool to enhance their presentation rather than a tool to read from. Especially now in the 21st century, the technology is now emerging. So that's why media is such a good help, especially students. Second is teach your students how to create an elevator pitch to be effective and concise in their speech. Hold debates in the classroom topics relating to relating the content rather than traditional one-to-one format. Have students set in circles. They can each take turns in making opening statements, rituals, and closing statements. Next is written communication. We all know written communication includes briefs and also emails and letters. So there are some strategies in order to improve students in communication, especially in written communication. First is connect all writing assignments into something relevant and practical. This will not only improve engagement but will prepare students for writing in a workplace. Second is ask students to write in a variety of formats, especially business and persuasive writing. Formats can include letters, speeches, technical writings, proposals, advertising flyers, and blog posts. Next is include digital writing assignments to further improve their 21st century skills. Balance and weakness can be used to share students' writing. As a teacher, we have to encourage students to reflect at the end of the learning experience or activity, or we have to, in other words, we have to do essays as part of experiential learning reflection so that they will improve in their critical thinking skills along with the writing skills. Next is the interpersonal communication. The interpersonal communication or social communication the social communication are needed to interact with one another So there are some strategies in order to improve or enhance the students' interpersonal communication skills. First is to create diverse groups during the classroom activities. This will encourage the students to share different perspectives and develop their listening skills. Next is to provide opportunities for students to communicate in virtual formats such as emails or messaging. It is difficult to convey meaning when you cannot use nonverbal cues to express yourself. Virtual formats will challenge students to communicate to the group members in a clear and concise manner. Practice learning skills by encouraging eye contact, observing the body language of the person, and asking questions. Project-based learning activities can be used to foster the developmental practice the development of a team, or which is team building, what sometimes we call it. Next is, as we've moved on, there are 10 reasons to develop communication in the classroom. First is to provide students the opportunity to own and internalize their learning by providing explanation to others. As for me, explanation is also one of the important to have a better and effective communication because you can share your ideas and thoughts with others also. Second is to facilitate critical learning by pushing students to virtualize their thinking and the thinking of others. The word pushing here is not it doesn't talk about you have to push the students to do what he or she didn't want to do, but to encourage the students to visualize their thinking, the thinking of others. Third is allow students to practice actively listening, providing other viewpoints while building empathy and understanding for diversity. As for me, listening is also one way to show respect for supports the ability to communicate in various ways, depending on the situation and resources available. So as a teacher, we have this what we call always as a teacher we always have to be ready. We have to be flexible enough to handle things that we cannot expect. So 5 encourages students to reflect and visualize their thinking. An important concept in content and connection between multiple content and the real world concept. 6 allows for the progression from surface learning to deeper learning to a final transfer of learning through reflection on multiple viewpoints, discipline, and possibilities. We have this called reflection at the end of the sometimes we can see it at the end of the activity in order for the students to visualize, to internalize all the learnings he or she have gathered at the lesson. 7 provides an avenue to explore the strengths and weaknesses of the different forms of communication involving face-to-face, virtual, and the virtual, oral, and the written. 8 supports the power of individual and a group voice. 9 provides important avenues of communication that allows for active listening, persuasion, healthy discourse, multiple viewpoints, and needed empathy. Lastly, builds the ability to convey message through knowledge of the content along with the ability to deliver the message in a powerful and effective way. Next one is the 4 effective communication skills. First one, what we call teaming, or from the word team. As we define team, it is a group of people with complementary skills committed to a common purpose. It is to share performance or goals and approach for which they hold themselves mutually accountable. Second is the collaboration. Collaboration includes demonstrate the ability to work effectively and respectfully with a diverse team. They have to the exercise what we call the flexibility and the willingness to be helpful in making necessary compromises to accomplish a common goal. Assume shared responsibility for collaboration work, such as group work, and value the individual contribution made by each other. Collaboration is not the same today as it was 20 years ago. In today's global economy, the high speed of communications allow virtual teams to take on projects from locations spread across the globe, especially the emerging of technology. There are some points that um, students will plan not in the classroom settings but with the use of media such as emails, video chat, video calls in order to plan for their activity or plan for their upcoming project. The third is we have the interpersonal communication. Interpersonal communication is the process by which people exchange information, feelings, thoughts, and meaning through verbal and non-verbal messages. It is a face-to-face. It is the face-to-face communication. It is not just about what is actually said, the language used, but how it is said. And non-verbal messages sent through tone of voice, such as the facial expressions, gestures, and body language. In communication, we have to think critically what we say, what we act, in order for some people not to interpret. I not interpret is there are some people who misinterpret it, so we have to think first before acting and before saying it. Interpersonal communication also includes gestures because, as it is said, it is also part of the nonverbal messages. We have the motion of hands. As we define gesture, it is a motion of hands, head, or the body to emphasize an idea or emotion. Lastly is the interactive communication. Interactive communication includes exchange of ideas where both the participants, whether human, machine, or art form, it is are active and can have an effect on one another. It is a dynamic or a two-way flow of information. Many forms of communication previously thought one way, like books and television, have become interactive with the rise of computers and internet and digital and mobile devices. To sum it up, these developing collaborative technologies, or the new media, what we call new media, have rapidly increased the opportunities for interactive communication across mediums, disciplines, cultures, and social classes, locations, and even time. So lastly, we have the quote of Jim Rohn. Effective communication is 20% what you know and 20% of what you know and 80% of how you feel about what you know. That's all. Thank you.